Hi, I'm Ray Scott, and welcome to Visual Art Photography. Today, I'm really excited about the project because we're going to be photographing ice at the water's edge. And you know something? It can really yield some amazing results. We have two scenarios for you, and in one of them, you may even have to pay a bit of a price. As always, comments and questions can be addressed down below. Now, in scenario number one today, we've had a high wind over a lake. The water is not frozen, but the temperatures off the water are below freezing. So the wind has pushed the water onto the shoreline and the water has frozen.
And this is what you get. Now, I'm just showing you this particular shot because that's where I was shooting from. My camera was on that tripod, but it really is nothing special when you look at it. I mean, you figure, what am I going to get out of this? But then you turn it around, and this is what I was looking at through the camera. I'm showing you this so that you can see what I had to work with. First, I concentrated up on the left-hand side, and then I came down and concentrated on that formation of ice that you see there. And this is what you start to look at. You move in closer and you get results. Look at that ice. It's cold. It feels cold. You can almost touch it. You can see some texture in it. But the idea was to move in closer to really get an idea of what was going on. And that formation that I was talking about, here it is again. So I've turned around and I've taken a shot of that. Now, with this particular composition, the ice is pretty impressive, and you know what's going on because you can see the branch, you can see it hanging from the branch and so on. But if you want to make it a little bit more abstract and really get a different feel to it, you know me, I love to move in closer. I love to fill the frame, and that's what I did here. And now look at that. It's a completely different feel than this. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You get to see the ice formation in its totality. Here, it's partial, but it's a completely different feel, right? And the rocks come into play too, the pebbles, because they have texture and they have a feel as well. So let's move down the shoreline and see what we find. And we come upon something like this. Now, in this situation, you have just a little bit of ice, but now we're using the grasses in the background that are in the water, and we're using the reflections from the grasses as well to form kind of like a circle, a little bit of a circle. And the ice formation is a little bit of a circle, or actually almost looks a bit more like a square, but you get the idea. They kind of match up with each other a little bit and complement each other. But how about adding a little bit of mystery to a scene? And this is what I really love about ice at the water's edge. You get to play with it, with the lighting and things like that, and look at the mystery here. Now it's actually hard to get your eye on it. And what exactly are you looking at? Am I shooting at the ice and shooting up and there's the sky and the sun? No. What I'm doing is I'm shooting down on the ice and the sun is being reflected in the water. It's peeking through some fairly heavy cloud. But look at the warmth to it. A little bit of a different time of day and the mystery. And I don't want this to be too bright. I want it to be a little bit dark and a little bit heavy. Same with this next one. Mystery. Look at that. Warm tones being reflected in the water, and you see those beautiful icicles. Very crystalline. But again, what we're going to do is we're going to move closer to abstract this image just a little bit. And look at that. They almost look metallic, those icicles. But you have some clues as to what you're looking at because you have some leaves that are stuck in the icicles. And that gives you a clue as to what's going on. But mysterious, dark, purposely dark. I haven't brought the shadows up. I want them to go almost black. I want that mood. And then if you want something a little more abstract, like that. Now, if you want to show the scene, the shot was taken a little earlier on in the day, and it's cold. I mean, that's cold because why? It's blue. There are no warm tones here. You've got some blue in the water, and the ice doesn't have any of that amber kind of thing going on with it. It is cold. So if you want to portray cold, lean to the blue side, of course. Or how about just going black and white, as the water had cascaded over these rocks and frozen there, and you've got these icy rocks and you've got a little bit of vegetation coming up that's covered with ice. Black and white treatment. Same thing here, black and white. And if you want to be a little more delicate about things, you can always just have something like this, where you have some ice, like droplets really, that have frozen. Move it a little closer, and you get a different look like that.
In scenario number 2, there is one similarity to the first scenario, and that is that we've had some high wind. But the lake has been frozen. Now, I was passing by this lake on a very bright, sunny day, and I noticed that big chunks of ice had been shoved onto the shoreline. But there really wasn't anything to photograph. Everything was a whiteout practically. It was just white. But I knew that if I came back in the morning, early in the morning, before the sun rose, and that's where you have to pay a price, because if you're not used to getting up early in the morning, you have to push yourself out of bed to get down to the shoreline. Anyway, I knew that if I got up early in the morning, that if it was a clear day especially, that whatever was going on in the sky would be reflecting back into the water, and that the ice would turn a very cool blue. And it worked out really well. And this is what it looked like.
This is exactly how the eye saw it. You've got that blue ice, and you've got this sky. Now, the sun's not even up here yet. That's really important. This was about 4:30 in the morning. The sun wasn't even up. The sky was just starting to take on some light. And look at the color. I got really lucky that morning. And you see the water in the ice, and it's gone the color of the sky. It is just gorgeous. And in the back, in the distance, you see a bridge back there. So there's civilization, but wow, it's the color, right? Over here, shooting in a slightly different direction, less color in terms of what was going on in the water, but here, I mean, you could be anywhere. This could be the Arctic, for Pete's sake. Look at that, the blue ice and a little bit of that pinkish, orangey reflecting in the water. Here. Now this is one of those chunks of ice that had come up really close on the shore, and it was really kind of dark when I was shooting it, and I because the water in the background, that slightly out of focus water in the background, it was very bright. So what I did was I popped a little flash, a little fill flash. I think I used an exposure flash compensation of about -1.5. So it wasn't full flash, but it was some fill flash, just to lighten up this big chunk of ice. And finally, here, the sun has finally risen. It's just come up above the horizon. And look at the ice, and look at the sky, and look at that great big ball of sun. Now, in order to get that, by the way, I was not up close to this ice. I was not that close to it, because if I had been up close and I had been using, say, a wide-angle lens, then the sun wouldn't have appeared as large. So I was standing back a ways, and I had my lens set at 300 millimeters, so that it would make the sun a little bit larger looking, and it compressed the image a little bit as well. But there you have it.
So those were only 2 different ways that you can photograph ice around the water's edge. There are many other scenarios that can take place, and something, it's just about being aware of what's going on down by the water and being there when certain things happen. And something, you can take some amazing photos that way. Give it a try and let me know how it works out for you. Until next time, I'm Ray Scott, reminding you it's not what you see, it's how you see it. And I'll see you soon.